There are about 165 million rivers on this planet. Most of them are ordinary. They flow from point A to point B. They feed cities, irrigate farmland, and empty into the sea. We grew up near rivers. We fish in them, swim in them, build bridges over them. Rivers feel safe. Rivers feel predictable. Rivers feel tame. But scattered among those 165 million, there are rivers that follow no rules at all. Rivers that boil. Rivers that flow with acid instead of water. Rivers that run underground, underwater, and even backwards. Rivers that kill every living thing within feet of the bank. This isn't mythology. This isn't science fiction. These are real places with real GPS coordinates. Let's start with the one that sounds like a scene from a horror movie, the boiling river of the Amazon. Deep inside the Peruvian jungle, there is a river called Rio Tinto. In the language of the local Ashaninka people, that name means something like boiled with the heat of the sun, but the sun has nothing to do with it. For over 4 miles, this river runs between 160 and 212 degrees Fahrenheit. It literally boils. Steam rises off the surface like a cauldron. The rocks on the bottom are coated in heat-loving bacteria, and any animal that falls in doesn't make it out. Small animals, frogs, lizards, snakes sometimes slip and fall into the water. The eyes go first. The whites cook and cloud over before the animal even understands what's happening. Then the skin, then the muscle. Within seconds, what was a living creature becomes a shapeless mass carried away by the current. To fall into Rio Tinto is to be boiled alive. Stories about this river circulated for generations, but scientists dismissed them. A boiling river in the middle of the jungle, hundreds of miles from any volcano, impossible. Hot springs only form near volcanic activity. The nearest volcano is over 430 miles away. That's like Chicago to New York. Then, in 2011, a young Peruvian geophysicist named Andres Russo decided to find out for himself. He'd grown up hearing stories about this river from his grandfather. He was a scientist, skeptical by training. So he went into the jungle to prove the legend wrong. He found it, and it was real. The water in Rio Tinto is rainwater. Ordinary rain, falling in the Andes hundreds of miles away. It seeps down through cracks in the Earth's crust, sinking miles deep where the heat of the Earth superheats it. Then that scalding water rises back up through geological fault lines and emerges at the surface as a river. Rio Tinto is essentially a giant natural kettle. Cold water goes down, the earth heats it, boiling water comes back up. The whole process takes years. The water boiling in that river today fell as rain several decades ago. For the local communities, the river is sacred. Shamans use the steam in healing ceremonies. They brew medicinal teas directly from its waters. They believe a great spirit serpent lives in its depths. Standing on the bank, wrapped in steam, listening to the roar of boiling water, it's hard not to feel something beyond the scientific. In the dry season, the river reaches around 212 degrees Fahrenheit in the hottest sections. In the rainy season, cooler water dilutes it slightly, but even then, this river causes third-degree burns in seconds. The locals know exactly where it's safe. Small tributary streams create natural hot tubs at around 104 degrees. They bathe there, wash clothes there, and they literally boil food directly in the river. But take one step in the wrong direction, and the water wants to cook you instead. Rio Tinto shattered existing models of geothermal activity. We assumed rivers this hot couldn't exist without a nearby volcano. All you need is a deep enough fault line. Water sinks to where rock temperatures exceed 390 degrees Fahrenheit, gets superheated, and rises back up. Which means there could be other boiling rivers out there, hidden in the Amazon, in Central Africa, in Borneo? We simply don't know. But if Shanai Timpishka kills with heat, the next river kills in a completely different way. Rio Tinto flows through southwestern Spain in the province of Huelva. And the moment you see it, you know something is very wrong. The water is a deep, saturated red, sometimes orange, sometimes rust. The banks are crusted with mineral deposits in shades of yellow, purple, and black. It looks less like a river and more like a lava flow that forgot to solidify. It is one of the most toxic places on Earth. The water in Rio Tinto has a pH of around 2. That's the same acidity as battery acid. The river carries dissolved iron, copper, zinc, arsenic, and cadmium. Not a single fish lives in this river. Not a frog, not a crayfish, not a water beetle. By every biological standard, this river is dead. The red color comes from dissolved iron oxidized by acid. Essentially, the river is full of rust. The region of Huelva sits on some of the richest sulfide ore deposits in Europe. When sulfide rock contacts water and oxygen, it produces sulfuric acid. Mining here goes back to the Phoenicians and the Romans. Every generation tore open new layers of rock, accelerating the acid reaction. Rio Tinto is a river that humanity killed slowly over 5 millennia without fully understanding what it was doing. One of the world's largest mining corporations is literally named after this dead river, the Rio Tinto Group. A company named for a poisoned river, continuing to mine on every continent, leaving behind new poisoned rivers wherever it goes. But here's the part that flips everything upside down. In this seemingly dead river, life exists. Not fish, not frogs, extremophile bacteria and algae that don't just survive here, they thrive. They feed on dissolved metals. They use sulfuric acid as an energy source. They coat the riverbed in dense mats of red, green, and purple, life finding a way where there should be no way. For NASA scientists, Rio Tinto is the most Mars-like environment on Earth. The red planet is coated in iron oxides. That's what gives it its color. Beneath Mars's surface, there may be acidic, metal-rich groundwater, very similar to what's in this river. If life exists on Mars, it might look exactly like the bacteria of Rio Tinto. NASA has been funding research here for over 20 years, testing instruments that will one day search for life on other planets. And now to something that shouldn't exist at all, a river that flows not across land, but through the ocean itself. In 2010, a team of British scientists made a discovery at the bottom of the Black Sea that left them staring at their monitors in disbelief. On the seafloor, about 115 feet below the surface, they found a fully formed river. It had a channel, it had banks, it had a floodplain. It even had waterfalls, and if this river were on dry land, it would rank as the 6th largest river in Europe, bigger than the Rhine. The secret is density. The water in this underwater river is far saltier and therefore heavier than the surrounding seawater. It flows in from the Mediterranean through the Bosphorus Strait, sinks to the bottom, and follows the seafloor like a river across land. The density difference creates sharp, defined banks, clear currents, turbulence. It behaves exactly like a river, just under 70 feet of ocean. Divers who have descended to this river describe something genuinely surreal. You're swimming in water, you sink lower, and then you see the surface of a different water below you, darker, murkier, with a visible current. If you reach your hand down into it, you feel the current pulling. A river inside the sea, water flowing through water. Underwater rivers have been found in the Gulf of Mexico, off Australia, in the Caribbean. But the Black Sea River is the largest and best studied. It carries nutrients and oxygen along the seafloor and supports deep bottom communities of organisms living right on the boundary between the two waters. It turns out the ocean floor is sculpted by the same process as dry land, by flowing water, just one kind of water flowing through another. From the sea floor of the Black Sea to the shores of East Africa, our fourth river, which kills with something more ancient and stranger. Lake Natron in Tanzania. The lake's alkalinity reaches a pH of up to 10.5. That's comparable to household ammonia. The water temperature in some sections hits 140 degrees Fahrenheit. And dissolved in all of it is natron, sodium carbonate, the exact same mineral that ancient Egyptians used to mummify their pharaohs. And it does to animals that fall in roughly what it did to those pharaohs. It calcifies them, it preserves them, it turns them to stone. Photographer Nick Brandt found dozens of perfectly preserved animal bodies on the shores, birds, bats, flamingos. They looked like sculptures. Some perched on branches with wings spread, some frozen mid-flight, some caught in the moment of trying to take off from the water that was already killing them. The bodies were coated in white mineral crust, perfectly intact, utterly terrifying. Migrating birds mistake the lake's reflective surface for ordinary water and land on it. The alkalinity burns through their skin and feathers almost immediately. The natron penetrates the tissue. Within hours or days, the body calcifies. Wind and waves carry the mummified remains to shore, where they survive for decades as natural monuments to a terrible mistake. Brandt's photographs spread around the world. They look impossible, they look staged, they are absolutely real. And yet, this lake that kills almost everything is simultaneously the most important flamingo breeding ground in all of East Africa. Around 2.5 million flamingos nest here on the salt islands in the middle of the lake. The alkaline water that destroys other creatures creates a perfect fortress. No predator can reach the nests. The water burns their feet and legs. The flamingos have thick scaled legs and special glands that filter out the salt and alkali. The Lake of Death is also the nursery for millions of birds. Nature has always played by its own rules. But the last river might be the strangest of all, not because of what nature did, but because of what people did. This river flows backwards on purpose. The Chicago River runs through the city of Chicago, Illinois. It is the only major river in the world whose flow was intentionally reversed by 180 degrees. Before 1900, the Chicago River flowed naturally eastward into Lake Michigan, the massive freshwater lake that supplied the entire city's drinking water. But the city was dumping everything into that same river. Sewage, industrial waste, and runoff from the largest meatpacking industry in the world. Chicago was the beef capital of America, and it smelled like it. The drinking water became so contaminated that typhoid and cholera epidemics killed thousands every year. In 1885, a single epidemic killed around 90,000 people, nearly 12% of Chicago's entire population. Something had to change. The solution was radical. The city's engineers decided to reverse the river, make it flow west, away from Lake Michigan, toward the Illinois River and the Mississippi. The sewage of Chicago would flow downstream towards St. Louis instead. Problem solved, at least for Chicago. A 28-mile canal was dug through the watershed divide between the Great Lakes and the Mississippi Basin. 8 years of construction, thousands of workers, millions of cubic yards of blasted rock and excavated earth. And on January 2nd, 1900, the gates were opened. The Chicago River reversed. Water that had flowed east for thousands of years now flowed west toward the Mississippi. A city looked at a river and said, "You flow that way now," and the river obeyed. The neighboring cities were furious. St. Louis sued, arguing that Chicago was exporting its sewage directly into their drinking water. The case went to the Supreme Court, which in 1906 ruled in Chicago's favor. It was a controversial decision. It locked the Chicago River into permanent reverse. Today, the river still flows backwards. There's a plaque on the riverwalk that notes, matter-of-factly, that the river flows the wrong way. Tourists take photos. Locals shrug. It's just the Chicago River. But the canal connected two ecosystems that had been separated for millions of years. And through that passage, species began to move between them. The biggest threat today is the Asian carp, an enormous invasive fish devastating the Mississippi ecosystem, pushing northward toward the Great Lakes. If Asian carp reach the lakes, the commercial fishing industry worth billions of dollars across multiple states could collapse. To stop them, electric barriers have been installed in the canal, delivering shocks to deter fish from passing through. An electric fence in the water to protect the Great Lakes from a fish problem caused by a sewage problem solved 125 years ago. Every intervention has consequences we don't foresee. Every solution creates problems we'll spend generations managing. Chicago moved the problem downstream instead of solving it, and now they guard that decision with electric fences in a canal, fighting a fish. 5 rivers, 5 ways of shattering everything we think we know about water. Shanay Timpishka, boiling in the Peruvian jungle, a reminder that the earth is a living, hot, unpredictable machine. Rio Tinto, red with iron and sulfuric acid, proof that life finds a way, even where life has no business existing. The underwater river of the Black Sea, proof that oceans have rivers inside them, invisible from above. Lake Natron, turning animals into stone sculptures while sheltering the largest flamingo nursery in Africa. And the Chicago River, flowing backwards, guarded by electric fences, proof that humans can redirect nature but never predict what comes next. Water is the most ordinary substance on the planet. We are made of it. We drink it every day without thinking. But water is not just H2O. It boils and freezes, dissolves stone, turns flesh to nothing, flows under the ocean, and reverses its own direction when a city tells it to. Water is the strangest substance on Earth, and these 5 rivers are its strangest, most magnificent, most terrifying expressions. We think we know this planet. We have photographed every square mile from space. We have dived the deepest trenches, we have stood at both poles. But step off the tourist trail into the Peruvian jungle, down to the Black Sea floor, over the salt flats of Tanzania, and the earth becomes unfamiliar again, strange again, breathtaking. Each of these rivers is a reminder. Water is not just a liquid you drink. It is a force that carved canyons, shaped continents, created all life, and can end a life in 10 seconds flat. Respect rivers, especially the ones that boil.